Okay, there are so many different storylines in NFL camps. As I used to prepare for Lions football, it would be, you're trying to talk to 90 guys, and you're trying to get the backstory of just about everyone, because those are the things you bring up, at least I always felt, those are the things you bring up during a telecast. There are certain numbers of guys, though, that really stand out. And one of the guys who stands out right now is Isaac TeSlaa. And it's not just because he's from the state of Michigan, not because he just played at Hillsdale and went D2 to D1 to Arkansas, and not just because he's a third-round pick. It's because he has performed. You don't give things to players if the player isn't ready to receive it. I remember the story of Jim Leland in 2006 when Justin Verlander and Joel Zumaya were having great camps. And people said, are you really going to take those guys north of these? He said, if I don't, I lose the room. If I don't take those guys to Comerica Park, then every player will be looking at me and like, what the hell do you have to do? Yeah. Now, this guy's going to make the team. That's obvious. And I love this picture because if you notice, the finger on the football is just like Braylon Edwards' finger on the football when he was with the Jets, and he showed us last week.
I would actually say,
that finger's still like that.
I would actually say his actually is a little bit better because the 4 points of pressure, he's actually got the last one. See, he's got the ball into the bicep, and also you don't see the ball. It's on the forearm. It's on the bicep. He's got the point of the football, and he's got it against the body. He's got all 4 points. On that picture, I kind of had a little bit loose as it was next to the bicep. You can see a little bit of space in there, but this is perfect.
Hey, shout out to Braylon keeping it real.
It's a great look. The only problem with the picture is you should be 17 instead of 18. But let's not get too critical.
I don't know if he's ready for 17 yet. I don't know if he's ready for 17 yet. I like 18 on that. It's a good looking number.
Did Braylon just say be easy?
Hey, that's the original.
Hey.
I don't say it because I let Easy. Shout out to the heavyweights. 5 to 7 every day. I let him have Easy, so I don't say anymore. But I'm be easy. It goes back to middle school.
All the way back there.
It does.
Okay. Well, he has, he's going to make this team. The question is whether or not he's going to start from day one. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, but they are raving about him in camp.
They're raving about him because he's making plays. One of the biggest things that, when we were talking about is I love Shep standing up. That's a good vibe right there. That's good energy.
Looks like I'm still sitting down when Braylon's so big.
My bad. I didn't mean to point that out. You want to see players that get drafted in the mid-rounds. You want to see them make plays. When given opportunities to go against the ones, go against a Terrion Arnold, go against a DJ Reed, go against Amik Robinson, go against whoever, you want to see him make plays. You want to see him stand out, and he's been doing that all camp long. And then once the preseason starts, we're going to put you in there and give you opportunity to make a play. He's got 2 touchdowns in 2 games. Mm-hmm. He's got –
Do you guys recognize it? I mean, is it very similar to the story I just told about Leland and Verlander and Zumaya? Are you guys, when you're at camp, you recognize certain players standing out?
100%. You can see the guys that are getting better. You can see the guys that want to make a play. Because at first, you just want to see a guy make a play. You don't care if, just go in there. If you're line up wrong, you don't get your depth, you may even run the wrong route. Can you make a play? The ball's in the air. Do you take the ball? Do you make a play? Do you get the first down? Do you get in the end zone? We can fix the little things. Do you play full speed? Are you coachable? When we tell you something, hey, that route is 18 yards coming back to 16. Are you getting 16 and coming back to 14? And then after we tell you, are you getting 16 and coming back to 14, or now you're getting the 18 yards? And I think you've seen a mixture of that from Isaac TeSlaa. Side note, same birthday as Justin Verlander, since you brought up Justin Verlander, February 20th.
Didn't know that.
I'm February 21st, so I tend to keep a close eye.
I like that. Good
on all
job.
the February babies. Michael Jordan, 17. Anyway, but he's getting better each day in practice. In the games, he's getting better. I saw him look a little better, look a little more polished, running routes. So that's what you want to see. It still is early. I don't think he'll be starting day one. I don't think he'll start by the time game 4 happens. I think it is still Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick is a damn good number 3 in this league. That's why they chose to retain him. And I don't think you can understate the relationship that Jared Goff and Tim Patrick built last year. Jared Goff is one. It takes a second for Jared Goff to trust you.
And he hasn't played with Jared, at least during preseason games.
100%.
He has during practice, but he hasn't played with that.
And so I think that will take some time. But just what you want to see out of him, Out of Arkansas, a guy that didn't necessarily start, wasn't taking all the reps, wasn't a guy that was the feature, but made a lot of plays. Now can you take the playmaking ability that you had at Arkansas? Can you take that, and now can you put some route running with it? Can you put some concept knowledge with it? And I think that's what this process is for him.
Why does the 2 yards matter? You said, are you running at 18 and coming back to 16, or are you running at 16 coming back to 14? Why is that 2 yardage difference a big deal to people?
Because that 18 yards versus that 16 yards, not only does it get you a catch, and it gets you a first down, which extends the drive, extends Jared Goff, extends Johnny Morton's opportunities to call some plays for Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. It's also not a pick. It's also not a linebacker stepping into a window because you came too short. Now you're supposed to be at 18, you're at 16. The linebacker dropped a little bit, so now he's in that window. Now he's getting a pick. Or the safety read it, saw your body language, and didn't believe that you were going to go deeper, so he cut the route. Now you got a pick 6. So that depth is very crucial to the quarterback. And if you can't get your depth as a wide receiver, guess who's not throwing you the ball? Guess who's not going to play you? So it's very important to be able to get your depth because you help the quarterback and the offense.
It's a domino effect. That's a really
100%.
good explanation. Speaking of playing him, Dan Campbell and John Morton will be in charge of deciding that. Scotty Montgomery, too, the wide receivers coach, who one of the many things, and then we'll get to the Dan Campbell soundbite on Isaac TeSlaa. One of the many things I like about Dan Campbell, and I think this stems from him being assistant coach too, and probably being a tight end who, let's face it, they don't get a lot of love usually, at least when he played. The love came to the guys like you who are wide receivers.
He wasn't the type of tight end to get the love. Like back when he played, you're talking about a different type of tight end. Dallas Clark was getting that love. Tony Gonzalez was getting it. Antonio Gates, shout out to him, Detroit Hall of Fame now. Those were the guys that were getting the love.
Dan Campbell's a blocking tight end as much as anything else.
And here, by the way, he's in third and goal, not expecting anything.
Jumbo package.
Here's a little play action, a little pop pass. That's how they catch their touchdowns. Catch you off guard.
Right. Yeah. He's not beating anybody on any type of seam route. But the thing I like about him is his willingness to recognize his assistant coaches. He's done a great job of that, and I think the coaches appreciate that. When we talk about players wanting to play for a guy, and I think you're the kind of guy who would want to play for a Dan Campbell-like coach, but how about the coaches who want to coach for a guy? Because he's making sure they get their flowers. He's saying to Kelvin Shepard, hey, don't you dare cut those dreads. You be who you are. John Morton's a smart guy. I trust him. He talks about Scotty Montgomery and the influence that he has on the wide receivers already, and I bet you that makes a big deal to them too, because eventually, Braylon, they want jobs. They want head coaching gigs. How do you get head coaching gigs? You got to be recognized, and Dan Campbell helps them in that regard, I think.
First of all, you got to coach. You got to be able to do. You got to do your job. Like Scotty Montgomery went from the running back room to the wide receivers room. You got to do your job. You have to make sure that the wide receivers, especially the younger ones, the Levettes, the TeSlaas, you got to make sure that they're prepared. When they step on the practice field, they know the install, they know what the plays are, they know the depth, they know the routes, know the things. That's what your job is, to prepare. Everybody asking, how is a running back coach going to help the receivers? At the end of the day, receivers, you got to this level. You're in the NFL now. You're a professional enough to get drafted, to get picked up, to get brought in, to be in this room, to have this success. All the coach is there to do is to teach you the concepts. This is how Johnny Mo plans for you to execute this offense. This is what number 16 is expecting. So that's what he teaches. When you have an all-pro wide receiver room in Amon-Ra St. Brown, when you have an ascending wide receiver who's learned under Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams, and by the way, you know what he is, and then Tim Patrick, etc. They're the guys kind of helping the young guys in this room. Amon-Ra is the leader of that room. You don't need Scotty Montgomery to come in and be some former wide receiver that can coach you like Marvin Harris. You don't need that. You just need concepts. He's there for that, and you need a leader of men. And that's what he's been. Dan Campbell empowers his coaches. And it's important because
that's a bar.
If the players see that Dan Campbell is saying this and believe this, now they have to trust that, well, I know I believe in the head, man. I know I trust in Dan Campbell and I'm excited to be here. So I have to trust that what he's telling me about my coach is true, especially if I see it.
Yeah, and I love the fact that there's other players helping them as well. A great soundbite, and I mean a great. I try not to use that word very often, from Giovanni Manu, who was talking about the assistance that Aiden Hutchinson gives him. And it's one of the many things I love about the Lions. But we'll get to that coming up. But first, Dan Campbell on Isaac TeSlaa and the impact that he's made on this coaching staff and this team so far.
Did well. Thought he played better than he did the first week. And I would say ever since we put pads on, he's been trending this way, So that's a good sign, is that you're getting better with pads on than the pajamas. So that was awesome. He's doing well, man. He blocks on the perimeter. He's making big catches over the top of people. He's going up. His route detail is getting that much better. Scotty's doing a heck of a job with him and all those guys. So he's growing. Yeah, that's more than this. It's more like this.
Right there. See, he mentioned Scotty Montgomery again.
100%.
I love that.
100%, and I appreciate that. And I know the wide receivers appreciate that as well. Now they can tap into their coach, and he's getting the just due, and he's getting the love. That's also how you get the elevation. That's also how other coaches around the league, when they're looking, we're looking for a new offensive coordinator. Who are the new hot names? Mm-hmm. Who are the new positions? Who are the guys that are good leaders of their position room that we may elevate? That's how you get that.
You know what I really like about Dan Campbell, and it seems like his staff, and I'm not going to claim to know him, okay? I know a lot of Lions coaches in the past, but he seems very secure in his job in the sense that he's giving the responsibility, and that's an important word, the responsibility to the right guys. In the past, we've seen certain coaches, I don't know if it's Jimmy Johnson, I don't know if it's Sean McVay, I don't know if it's Sean Payton, Bill Parcells, who are afraid to relinquish the type of say in a game plan or how a team is built because they wanted to be that guy. He seems like a guy who's willing to say, you know what, I'm going to have that final say, but I trust John Morton, I trust Kelvin Shepard, I trust my coaches to make the right choices.
Yeah, I think those guys had trust issues because they're such savants at whatever side of the ball they're good at. For Bill Parcells, it was the defensive side of the ball. For Sean McVay, it's the offensive side of the ball. They're savants. They're savants, and they have the mentality. If I don't do it, it's not going to get done the right way.
Yeah.
And they don't want to relinquish that trust. The good news about Dan Campbell is, one, in terms of that confidence, and he feels like he's not going anywhere. There was a long conversation I had with he and Sheila Hamp before he even got that job. He sat down, they talked ad nauseum about what the plan was, what it was going to look like, how long I have. Don't give me 2 years and make this thing anxious. Don't give me time. That's the thing he said. He said it's going to take 3 years, his very first press conference. And I think Sheila Hamp gave him that time. When you give someone that time, you feel very comfortable. Now I can bring in the right people, going back to the conversation. He is not the savant that Bill Parcells is. No disrespect to the big man. No disrespect. He's not the savant that Sean McVay is on the offensive side of the ball. And what that has allowed him to do over the years, he knows who he is, which is not the smartest man in the room, which is nothing wrong with that, because the people that can realize that, those are the people that are going to be very successful. And he's done that since his whole time in 2021 in bringing people in. You know what? I don't know offense. I don't think Anthony Lynn does either. Let me figure this out, figure out a system. He did that. Defensive coordinator, no smoke. You know what that was from jump. I think he has an innate ability to know what he does not know, doesn't care about being the smartest person in the room. Who is that person? Let me empower my offense with Kelvin Shepard. Let me empower my defense. Let me empower my offense with Johnny Moe, who I vetted, who I've had in the room, who I know the players respond to, who will get the best out of Jared Goff, who will get the best out of the coaches. Because that's what you're doing. I think he does a really good job of that. And so far, that's one of the things for Dan Campbell. You can't argue. No one can argue the fact that he hires damn well, and he does not mind getting rid of you if you're not doing your job.
That's what great leaders do. Great leaders hire really good people, dare I say great people, and let them do their jobs.
Let them cook with grease.
That's the reason they hired him in the first place. Dan Campbell has done that. He's elevated guys from within. That's a big deal if they've earned it. And he lets them do what they're supposed to do. The trust factor is no question that the trust factor is there from him and his staff.
The best thing I like about this Kool-Aid, tell me if you agree or not, I like the fact that Dan Campbell is confident enough with himself. Do you know how many times I saw coaches worrying about other coaches on that staff because those other coaches were probably in line for a job, whether it was whether it was a quarterback's coach, whether it was a wide receivers coach, whether it was a linebackers coach. They didn't allow those guys to fully do their job. Damn sure not those coordinators, because you risk the chance. I don't want them to leave me.
Oh, I hate that mentality.
I don't want
Or
them
I don't
to
want
leave.
them to take my place.
I don't want them to take my. That's the one. That's the one. I don't want them to take that place. I saw that in Cleveland. I saw that to an extent. I saw it in New York. Didn't see it in Seattle because Seattle, Pete had the same mindset as Dan Campbell. Like, I'm good. I'm safe in my job. I want you guys.
I'm secure.
Because Dan knows if they have no hampering, no interference, they can be in their own space, their own zone. They feel comfortable, and now they can be the best coaches for this team. It ain't about ego. It's not about who gets the credit.
Right.
Like, Dan didn't care that Ben Johnson was running around getting all this credit, and they were calling him the boy wonder and this, that, and the third.
He's so secure in
what was
himself.
his offense looking like at the time? The best offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that's more so.
Everybody wins in that situation.
When you win, everybody eats, B.
Everybody
eats.
eats.
Lloyd Carr said it all the time. He said, when the team wins, everybody wins. I didn't understand that as a freshman. I didn't understand that as a sophomore. But when we won the Big Ten my junior year, and I saw how many first-team All-Big Teners we had, when I saw how many All-Americans we had, when I saw Chris Perry finish third in the Heisman that year, I was able to understand, when the team wins, everybody wins. And that's what Dan cares. Dan doesn't care about the egocentric things. Dan doesn't. We care about Coach of the Year. Dan Campbell don't care about Coach of the Year.
We talk about it all the time. I mean,
Man,
unless
don't
there's
care about
something in a
filling tax.
contract. There might be something in a contract that says if I get Coach of the Year, I get an extra $500,000 or something. Maybe. I don't know.
It's more. It's probably 1.5.
Yeah, something like that. How did you recognize it when you played? And what did that do to the uneasiness of a room and or a team?
Because the energy is off. Like, it sucks being in a hallway, and for me it was different, but let's just say Allen Park. It sucks being in a hallway in Rotunda, and you're walking with your wide receivers coach, and your offensive coordinator walks right by that doesn't say anything to him.
Oh.
It sucks when coaches don't talk. It sucks when you're looking at the head coach that wants to say something to his offensive coordinator, but just doesn't. And it is a miserable place to be in. I've been there multiple times where you're just like, oh, here we go. And you know early on in the week, and you know what that's going to be like. So when you have coaches that are cool, they work with each other, they talk with one another, they share notes with one another because everybody is about the team and the winning, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. I think it's the part of the reason for their success.
I had a wide
I think
receivers
it's
coach in Seattle that wouldn't, like, he was so scared to coach. He was so scared to get it wrong because he didn't want to get fired. I was like, well, you're going to get fired because you're getting it wrong quite often because you don't want to have a conversation with your OC. Was it Darryl Bevel?
Darryl Bevel?
Darryl Bevel was an offensive coordinator when I was in Seattle, and my wide receivers coach, he was just, it was interesting.
Darryl Bevel out of Wisconsin, right?
100%.
Yeah, played quarterback at Wisconsin.
Big Ten guy.
All right. Well, we were talking about Isaac TeSlaa. Really good and insightful comment from Penei Sewell. He sat down with somebody on ESPN recently, and they asked him about the rookie. Listen to what one of, if not the best, right tackle in the National Football League had to say about a third-round pick.
TeSlaa. Explain why. I like the way he plays physical. I'm not even talking about the receiving limb catching. That man can block, and I like the way he attacks that aspect of the game. Really ready to put his head down and go in there and hit somebody.
No block, no rock, right?
I mean, you said it.
That's how it goes.
He's not even talking about his receiving skills. Now, it's a lineman, so maybe it's a little different. How many linemen used to come up to you and say, "Hey, man, great block. Appreciate how you're doing. How you've got the entire game." Things of that nature. Do you think linemen were recognizing that with you when you were playing?
All of them, because I was a big wide receiver, physical wide receiver, and I hung my hat on blocking. I learned that from Lloyd Carr. The fastest way to get a compliment from the coaching staff is block. It's to do something that your job doesn't call for. Like, my job is catching touchdowns and passes and first downs. You go out there and lay out a safety. You go out there and smack a linebacker. Now your running back can get on the outside edge and gets another 20 yards, maybe even breaks one and go long. Remember the long run that David Montgomery had against the Los Angeles Chargers? Was it 2-3 years ago? All we talked about was Amon-Ra St. Brown on that play. We didn't even talk about David Montgomery's run. It's a 77-yard run on the road. All we could talk about. Yeah. Did you see Amon-Ra St. Brown finish that play? That gets offensive linemen going because it says that I care about the team. I don't just care about catching passes and being the diva that is associated with the position. I don't mind going there and mixing it up, and they love it. I used to love hanging out with the linemen. Like Damian Woody, I still talk to Damian Woody
Good
at
dude.
least 2-3 times a week. What's going on? Shout out to him. He's on the 4 letters that you just saw in that interview. But I love that energy. But they love it because it says you're selfless and unselfish.
Right.
That's
That's what linemen are.
100%, because that's the job, the big uglies. That's the job they have. Is a very selfless job. Going here and fighting these trenches against monsters like Chris Johnson and Aaron Donald, and the list goes on. So when they see a wide receiver or they see a running back step in there, when you see Jahmyr Gibbs, oh shoot, here comes Fred Warner, he's free. What am I gonna do? You know what? I'm gonna go in there and sacrifice my body, pick up the blitz so Jared doesn't get hit. We get a pass down the field. I worry about the headache that I have tomorrow, after we win. It's selflessness. And I think that's what linemen appreciate about Isaac TeSlaa, the physicality and him willing to be able to, look, whatever. Throw me the ball later. Let me block for you. Let me help you out.
Well, speaking of Penei Sewell, it's going to be part of Braylon's breakdown tomorrow, so you're going to want to watch that.
I can't wait
3
for this
o'clock. Braylon's breakdown will focus on Penei Sewell and some others. So make sure you're tuning in to the Braylon Edwards Show tomorrow, 3 o'clock. We will have it for you right here on the Braylon Edwards Show. All right.